All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to Korkie's Corner. We have now done 10 of these. Probably took us about 20 weeks to get to the 10th episode, even though this is supposed to be a weekly show. But we did it. We're at 10 episodes of Korkie's Corner. Join me, of course, is my co-host, writer of Ice Cold and Deadly, working on the upcoming project Seeking Sadhguru and the Bettman Conspiracy. My dad, Mike Korkie.
It's great to be here, John. It's great to be here, everyone.
Yep, it is great to be back here talking some hockey. And Dad, if you could just show your entire photo history on your phone for everyone on the podcast real quick, just to kind of show what kind of a man you are.
I don't want us to get pulled from YouTube.
uh, yeah, so obviously that's a joke on the Mike Babcock situation. It's been a little bit done to death, but I figured we're not striking while the iron is hot, but the iron is still a little bit warm, so I figured we talk about it. I will say good news is for the NHL, the NHLPA actually finally seems to be acting in the interest of the players. There's no longer a corrupt person like Donald Fair. And I feel like with Donald Fair, this wouldn't have happened. A lot of the players would have had to tolerate Mike Babcock's shenanigans as they have historically. But I mean, Dad, as someone who has coached hockey and everything, have you ever thought about asking players for your phone? And what are your thoughts on the Mike Babcock situation right
Well, fun fact, your uncle played for him briefly at Moose Jaw. And I don't think it was a reflection of Babcock's coaching, but he decided not to play there and he came back and played college with me instead at Nate. So he doesn't I mean, I asked your uncle about him and he didn't have anything good to say about him. I think that Babcock is probably, if you really look, if we analyze the type of person that would ask for someone's phone, I would never do it. I used to tell players to shut their phones off. That was enough of a battle to just get them to shut their phones off in the dressing room. But asking for their phone to creep through it is beyond the pale. But as everybody's pointed out, it's a power play, and you have to think that he's got some sort of personality disorder.
now? Yeah, he strikes me as a sociopath because of what he did with Mike Modano, his ego just couldn't allow Mike Modano, one of the biggest legends in hockey. Like it doesn't make sense because coaches like him historically love veterans like Mike Modano. Like that's like their heart and soul. So it kind of baffles me. I think Darren McCarty, when Mike Commodore tweeted, good riddance, he's gone. Darren McCarty won a cup with Mike Babcock, and he tweeted out fist bump heart emojis and stuff in response to Mike Babcock being gone. And how is Darren McCarty not a coach's darling? Like even players who you look at, Johan Franzen, a career Red Wing, he said Mike Babcock is the worst person I ever met. Like there's something about him because even players who coaches that are historically all, old school coaches love seem to hate Mike Babcock.
Yeah, and that's because there seems to be a complete lack of empathy on his part, right? So, um, that tells me that he's probably a narcissistic sociopath because let's face it, you have to be you have to be charming enough to get that position. You can't just be like the personification of evil and become an NHL head coach. There has to be some level of charm, right? So what that tells me is that he's more than willing to kiss ass upwards and get the general managers and everything like that, but completely unable to, um, in terms of people that he's managing, coaching, whatever, unable to show them any kind of humanity. That would just be common sense humanity. Like let someone, a veteran of 20, however long it was, first game and wanted to play in Toronto, draw, and he sits the guys out, right? Like that's the type of thing. That's a Scotty Bowman move. I don't think Scotty Bowman would cut it in today's game either, right? People used to have to put up with that type of behavior, but now they don't.
Well, at least Scotty Bowman, and I kind of looking at Mike Babcock's coaching career, Scotty Bowman is at least the greatest coach of all time. Like, so you can kind of tolerate, oh, I'm scratched here, which sucks, but at least I'm behind one of the best tacticians in the game. Mike Babcock has only won one Stanley Cup, and 2009 he had the same roster, lost the Cup Finals. He's a good coach, don't get me wrong, but if you look at the team he won the Stanley Cup with and made it to the Cup Finals, on paper, up and down, that's one of the best rosters ever put together.
Well, that's what comes back to. I don't know that he's necessarily a good coach. I mean, he's obviously a a very decent coach. You know, he worked his way up through the ranks, but I think that the fact that he's like superficially charming, it allows him to get into the situations that the good situations. Like you could put you and me as like co-coaches on that Detroit Red Wings team, we're probably getting to the playoffs and making a run, right? It's not that when you have that kind of roster, it's not unless you screw it up, you're going to have success. So I think he was very adept at putting himself in good situations, but not necessarily great at managing the people that he needed to manage.
Yeah, it doesn't take good coaching to keep Lidstrom on the ice for 30 minutes of a hockey
Right. I mean, I mean, it's not even common sense. It's just basic sense. But, the Scotty Bowman, I did read some stories. There was a player by the name of back in the day when he was coaching Montreal, Pierre LaRouche, and was like a junior star in the Quebec Major League, like 200 points, just ridiculous numbers, off the chart numbers. But when you get to the NHL and Guy Lafleur's in front of you, then you don't, you're not the offensive star anymore. Guy Lafleur's the offensive star. So Pierre LaRouche was expected to, be more of a defensive minded player. And, um, apparently Bowman used to just play mind games with him all the time. This is what old school coaches used to do. And guys would sit there and they'd be like, what do I have to do? Like, well, I don't understand. He won't even tell me what I have to do. And they just play mind games. And Babcock, really what he was trying to do with those phones was nothing more than a mind game.
Yep, I agree. And I do love, to kind of summarize it, John Tortorella, a lot of players do get tired of him, but John Tortorella, he is a good short-term coach. Even players who have historically gone back and forth, I think Kessler, ironically, on Spitting Chicklets talked about it. Like at the end of the day, they had moments where they fought with him and stuff, but they're like, you know what? That's a good person. He's angry and stuff, but he angrily tells you what you need to do. But the players' union, some of the fringe NHLers, veterans that have played with him, including ones who won the cup, sat down and said, "Yeah, fuck this guy. Like he shouldn't be in the NHL anymore." They all agreed, and basically, he's probably the first coach to ever be forced out of the NHL by the players.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you don't see Mike Keenan around anymore, but I mean, I guess he's getting a little old too. But like, I mean, he's done for one. Like, he's never coming back. I don't think he'll ever get another coaching job. And it's just time for, I mean, I guess sort of let that be a lesson. You don't want players, in my opinion, to have too much power, right? I don't want the NHL to turn into the NBA where three or four guys can get together and say, "Oh, we're going to this team and we're gonna win a championship there," right? Like I don't want that kind of league. Like that's not what pro sports league should be. On the other hand, um, there's a balance where the players have some power, the management has some power. You shouldn't take all the power away from the coaches. And let's face it, what Babcock has done probably hurt other coaches trying to coach their team, right? Like, there are times when players need discipline. Now they got to be always wondering, am I going to get Babcocked here?
Yeah. So I think as long as coaches like John Tortorella, Rod Brindamore, Bruce Campbell, I think is another old school guy who just won a cup. He's had been stern with players. There are still coaches who are stern with players. As long as players do have power, as long as the coaches do have those coaches are still around, it does show that the NHL isn't heading in the NBA direction that as a sports fan, I don't like the direction the NBA has gone in. Of course, a lot of casual sports fans do, but I'm not really a casual sports fan. Um, So as long as those coaches are still around, then yeah, I don't think we're approaching players that have too much power. Although I do think on some level, guys like Connor McDavid, not Jack Eichel, Nathan McKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, some of those players that have really bled for the team and been around the team for a long time, they've earned the right to kind of criticize a coach to the general manager or something. Or, Steve Eiserman, I think, had every right to criticize Babcock if he wanted to, just because
Right.
it's Steve Eiserman. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think what it's going to come down to in terms of criticisms and everything like that, I think, sports is a business, right? They say that all the time. Sports has now become a business, and look at the corporate environment, and the basic level of professionalism and courtesy that you need to show all of your coworkers, whether it's up or down or whatever, across peers, managers. You're expected to come in, do your job, and do so with a professional demeanor. And I think it's kind of becoming that way. Like, if you're a coach, you can't be ranting and raving any more than you could go into an office and start ranting and raving at your secretary. I mean, you'll get sued for that, right? And so I think, if you look at a guy like Jay Woodcroft with the Oilers, he comes in, he treats his players with respect, and that earns a certain amount of respect. On the other hand, if they're out there making mistakes, coach controls the ice time. They're not getting put out on the ice, and that's kind of how you have to look at it. Is, okay, what levers do I have to pull that are sort of a professional way of doing this, as opposed to screaming at guys? Now, I've worked for managers who were never shy about getting in your face. It's called having uncomfortable conversations, right? Like, if they don't feel like you're fully engaged in doing what you need to do, it is their job to tell you what their expectations of you are. I don't see where coaching is any different.
I agree completely, and I think there are guys that ride that line. Some of the best coaches in the league. As much as I don't like him for taking the C off Rod Brind'Amour, Paul Maurice, there's a reason he's still in the league. For 25 years now. So, but on to a slightly funnier topic. There is a monstrosity jersey related that I would like to show you here. Let me just go. We'll talk about the Canes jersey in a second because that's the first thing that's going to pop up. But yeah, what I want to show you, take a look at this, Dad. Here we have maybe one of, if not the biggest example of what the actual F is happening to hockey jerseys. Because they have the patch, you can't have the patch share aside. So you got to put the A down here to make room for the 35th anniversary patch because we got to protect this stupid thing right here that adds nothing except a couple $1 million to an already $1 billion industry. Now that extra 20 million apparently is so important, we got to make our jersey just look absolutely hideous because we got to prioritize this stupid thing that no one likes. It
Well, maybe,
just
maybe if the guy was wearing shoulder pads, there'd be more room on the front of the jersey. I mean, is that guy? What is that? Is that guy a bantam? What are we looking at here? Who is this player?
uh let me see here. I don't have number 62 on the Anaheim Ducks on the top of my head, but
Oh, is that from the one of the rookie tournaments?
that's probably the rookie tournament. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
look at the arena. That's the rookie tournament. Um,
yeah. No, that's no good. I mean, it almost looks photoshopped on there.
Yeah, that is shout out to, unfortunately we're blocking Chris Creamer of Sports Logos there. I want to cite him for the photo, but yeah, I looked at that and I'm like, this is exactly like there were people who were like, oh, it's just extra revenue for the league. It's not going to be annoying, who were criticizing people like myself that think ads on jerseys is one of the worst things to happen to hockey. Right there. Like you don't need any more proof than right there.
I want you to picture this scenario. It's Christmas morning. Your favorite, your most expected present is under the tree to be unwrapped. and you open up your latest Canes jersey, and it's got that configuration with the C on it, just like instead of an A. How would you feel about that, John?
Like exactly like that. You're just confirming my point. And with the rumor is one thing is Adidas. I want to compliment Adidas because they definitely when they made. I don't like these collars. Like I always prefer the V-neck shape on jerseys. I've gotten used to it, but they definitely kind of made the jersey thicker around here for ads. Like that was always an intention. They did keep it on the retail. They're not renewing the contract. Fanatics is taking over. I do wonder if Fanatics is going to be like, oh, if you want to buy the team's jersey, you got to buy the ad on it.
Mhm.
It's just the NHL. Like, oh, don't get me started. But yeah, I feel like because a lot of people were like, oh, it's not that bad. Next up, you're gonna have to cringe with me here because the Zoom share screen is getting in my way. The Carolina Hurricanes. I dislike this move, but I think you'll be a fan of it. The Carolina Hurricanes, they are going back to this. So instead of this jersey right here, the one I'm wearing, because I love this thing, instead of this jersey here with the silver and all that, just very beautiful jersey, so popular. They brought it back in the playoffs. It's just very nice. They went to admittedly what I think is a decent jersey, but it's one of those things where this is nice. This is crap. Freaking Zoom. This is nice. Uh but the 20, this is better. That's how I see it. But Dad, I'm just wondering if I could get your quick thoughts on Carolina dropping the 25th anniversary jersey to this one.
Well, I think you know how I feel about Carolina's branding. For me, their jerseys have often been too busy, so anything they can do to streamline it, I'm giving two thumbs up.
I disagree because I don't like the faded warning flags. I think the warning flags is the Hurricanes' identity, and I think when you add the warning flags, like right here, look at this, Seth Jarvis. I think it actually makes the jersey look nicer. It's a unique stripe. It's not super gaudy. So, but that's where I guess we can agree to disagree on that. But I was just wondering if I could get your thoughts
Yeah,
on.
well, on a jersey related matter, I since you're not really on Facebook that much, I'll point people to my Facebook. Kip Yarbles is my handle on Facebook. We are doing the third annual Yarbles Industries jersey bracket, and the it'll be out soon. I'm waiting for a couple jerseys to be released. The theme has been chosen and the brackets are being prepared. So look for that sometime in, close to the start of the season.
What is the theme?
I'm not disclosing yet. It's all part of the presentation. You gotta give people little bits of information and keep them wanting.
All right. Well, add my dad, friend request my dad on Facebook or Face Paint, as one of my dad's friends would like to say.
Well, you don't even have to do that because I always make the jersey brackets public. Like I'll make all those posts public. So you can just look for me and Kip Yarbles and it'll be posted.
Yeah. All right. So I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah, the rookie tournament. So the rookie tournament, there are two hat tricks that happened, and basically the two players that are clearly making their team, and that is Adam Fantilli and Connor Bedard. I think they're a little bit above this rookie tournament. But I was trying to find more stats. I think Carolina won a comeback from behind victory on theirs. I think it's interesting how hard it is to find information on the rookie tournaments versus a lot of other sporting events that happen. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Bedard and Fantilli getting hat tricks?
Well, I can tell you that they don't mean that much. It's unsurprising that those two players, as good as they are, were were able to get hat tricks. Last year, Dylan Holloway for the Oilers absolutely lit that tournament up. I think he had a hat trick. Now, granted, he was a couple years older. These guys are coming in as 18-year-olds, but my point is that they were um, by the time this, and then he lit up the preseason as well, stole a spot on the team. But then by the time the regular season started, he was playing 8 minutes a night. So I wouldn't read too much about stuff that happens at rookie tournaments. But the Oilers have actually been doing this for longer than anybody. They actually started with their rookies playing the University of Alberta Golden Bears, going back to my first year in university, where 1987 they played, and they've played almost every year. They played the Golden Bears almost every year with the rookies, and it gives you an idea of who really stands out, like who's sort of probably an NHL talent, but not much beyond that.
Yeah. I think it's a missed opportunity because while the rookie tournaments definitely don't matter as like, oh, this is how good this team's going to do in any capacity, they can matter for the players. Like Dylan Holloway, you pointed out, managed to make an NHL team starting with the rookie tournament. I think I talked to you a little bit about this. What sport would you say has grown the most from like 2008 to 2010 till now?
What sport?
Yeah.
Um, you mean in North America or globally?
Any sport, global can I do think applies here, but any sport globally, team or singles.
2008, I'm gonna have to say, since then, I mean, it's probably Major League Soccer since 2008.
Yeah, Major League Soccer team wise, I think it's been the UFC. The UFC has become a juggernaut.
Uh, yeah, I mean, you're probably right. You're probably right
And
about
you know
that.
how they did it?
Oh,
Rookie tournament. It was literally a rookie tournament where it was all these, guys that maybe may not get a shot at fighting in the top level. It was the Ultimate Fighter. That
Ultimate Fighter. Yeah.
really blew up football. They had like Team Rampage, and it was kind of a reality show. Granted, I don't think a reality show would grow a league as much anymore because the reality era of TV has died down a lot. But it just goes to show you if you get a really good documentary crew and you do like team instead of doing like team tournaments, you have like Team Ovechkin, Team Crosby, Team Stamkos, Team Kane in a tournament where they take the best rookies. You can throw Bedard and Fantilli in there as well if you want. And basically, the MVP of the tournament wins. So probably not Fantilli and Bedard because they're already signed. But all these unsigned, undrafted players, the winner of the tournament gets an entry level 2 year deal with the their team. You could make so much money off of that because it has worked. And instead of the rookie tournament, you can barely find the scores on Google if you want. They should really
Well,
rally.
Canada actually did have a reality show based on hockey, that were with that similar theme. Like, I don't think they're doing it anymore, but I don't remember what it was called, but they actually had this thing where these like guys that were playing senior hockey, guys maybe that had played some pro and given it up, whatever. It was like a second chance deal, and it was pretty big for a while, but it kind of ran its course.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is with the hockey in Canada, they don't need to grow. But you get a show like the UFC has done such a good job marketing, and part of it is too a lot of sports are kind of like the main broadcasts and stuff are focused for kids, and the
Yeah.
UFC went the opposite route. But I mean, the UFC has done such a good job in growing, not as much now, but like from 2008 to 2020, basically in that 2010s era with people like Conor McGregor and Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen, basically turning those guys into household names worldwide. And the way they were able to get that momentum going was through the Ultimate Fighter. I think it would behoove other leagues to kind of not the NFL because they're so big that it doesn't matter for them. But, MLB, MLS, NHL to do something like that. But the NHL has rookie tournaments and you can barely find anything. When I think if you put an outlet for people to watch kind of no names try to break through in a documentary style way, that will draw a casual audience into the sport. And I think it's proven. I think it kind of shows just how allergic to making money the NHL is.
Well, The difference is UFC was trying to grab a foothold, and like you say, they've grown incredibly fast since then. But the difference with hockey and why I don't think it's as important um, is nobody's coming out of like those guys. There was no developmental leagues for the UFC, right? It was a brand new thing, kind of a new concept. And so there were a lot of unknowns, right? In hockey, think of all the junior leagues, of all the prep school leagues, of all the midget leagues, all the minor pro leagues. Everybody's known. You have plenty of leagues to develop in and matriculate in and be scouted. That people can already see those grassroots guys by going to the local junior game. So it's a little bit of a different situation.
I guess, but I would say, I don't think it would hurt a team to sign a rookie to a two-way NHL contract, even if they might end up not being good enough, just for a couple $1 million on a TV show. And you can get rid of those stupid jersey ads. Oh, one last time, a note that popped in my head that I think also kind of shows some of the criticisms I have on the NHL. So, the digital board ads, right?
Yep.
So the NHL says that most fans are very happy and that the people who are displeased with those stupid ads on the boards that have players blend in are a vocal minority. And not only are they wanting to kind of like grow them, they said they want to get rid of the enterprise one, which literally has a car drive across the boards while you're trying to watch the game.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
stupid.
yeah, they're trying to get rid of that. They've said they'll cut down on those. They are, instead of when a player scores, you know how when a player scores, they immediately like zoom in on their face and their reaction and their team celebrating and everything. You know how that happens when a player scores.
Yeah, no, I
So
if
their
I was
new
a player, if I scored a lot, I'd probably sell advertising on my forehead.
but what they're gonna do is they're gonna have the digital board ads kind of, instead of zooming in on the player, when they score, they'll have the board ads say like, "Oh, team scores around the boards," and focus more on that than the player who just scored.
Hmm. Yeah, that's dumb.
Hmm.
So, one thing like, and it distracts me from the game, but I enjoy doing it is when they're showing like the board ads or whatever. I'm always interested to see what what the actual local ads are. So if I'm watching a game between Pittsburgh and I'm seeing Enterprise, I like when they show the different views because that's only from the main view that they show the board ads. So I like it when they show like the down ice view so I can see what the actual local board ads are.
Yeah, but they don't want that. I cannot believe that like some of the advertisers that put their ads on the like physically paid to have their ads on the boards are okay with the digital board ads. If I was an advertiser that paid for that painted on board ad, I'd be livid if it was going to be taken off TV and I had to pay extra to actually get it on TV.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although maybe because of this, they can actually be more efficient and only charge the people for charge them less charge them less than they would have to pay otherwise, right? Because they're only getting local exposure, and that means that they're not getting the national exposure anymore. But like for a business that doesn't necessarily need say a local car dealership, what do they care about being on national TV? Right. So if they don't, if the cost of being on national TV is not embedded in what they pay, then that's kind of a win for them.
Yeah, and then also the win is that they don't need to worry about jersey ads. If the team's wearing white, their ad becomes the jersey. They don't got to worry about that nonsense of having to pay extra for a patch up here. They can just become the jersey for a couple seconds there.
Right.
All right, well that'll do it for this edition of Corky's Corner. Had a lot of fun recording this. If you guys like the content being produced on the channel, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and share the video to your friends. And we'll see you guys soon.
Stay horny, my friends.